Hello out there. How is everybody doing today? Did you have a good day? Yes, you did. That's awesome to hear. I'm a kitty cat today. Meow, meow, meow. Just kidding. It's really just me. And I have a special story for you guys tonight. I'm so excited because Easter is coming up, right? Yes! And there's so much fun activities that comes with Easter, but there's also a very, very good story that is associated with Easter, and it doesn't have anything to do with the colorful eggs or the Easter bunny or any of those things, but it's such a great story, and we're going to learn about some of those stories over this next week as we head into Easter. But don't worry, it won't take away anything from the bunny and the baskets and the Easter egg hunts. Things may be a little different this year because of everything that's going on in the world, so just be patient and be really understanding because the Easter Bunny is really busy this year with everything that's going on. He's really busy, so you might have to be a little patient about your Easter baskets, okay? So just relax and know that everything is going to be fine. And I will be reading you stories, and we'll read some Easter stories and some bunny stories, and we'll learn a lot and spend a lot of time together this week, okay? And also, we'll have some craft activities too. If you guys want to tune in, maybe sometime during this week, definitely tomorrow, we'll have an Easter craft that you can work on with Brooklyn and I, and that'll be so much fun, and we'll try to have some more throughout the week. So we'll have stories, we'll have Easter crafts, we'll go into this Easter week super excited, doing all tons of good things, okay? Are you guys ready? Are you excited? I'm excited. The book I'm reading today, it is called Miriam's Cup. It is a Passover story. Do you guys know what Passover is? I kind of knew about it, but I didn't know everything about it. So let's learn a little bit together, okay? Let's read this book and learn about what it means together. I'm going to take this cover off because it gets kind of in the way sometimes, but I'm just going to put it over to the side, and we'll put it back on the book later to make sure that the book stays in good condition. All right, you guys ready? Let me bring you a little closer. Hi! All right, here we go. Can you see the book okay? Miriam's Cup, a Passover story. This is a big book. Every spring, Passover arrives with a flurry of such clanging of pots and sweepings of rooms. In cities and towns all over the world, many a house is turned upside down. At the Pinsky home, Miriam and her brother Elijah always help with the preparations. Every year before the Seder, Papa reminds Elijah, "Don't forget to polish Elijah's cup." Elijah never forgets. He's so proud to be named after the great prophet. Well, this year, Mama had a surprise for Miriam. She gave her a box wrapped in paper as golden as sunlight. "Before you open your gift, Miriam," Mama said, "I want to tell you about Miriam the prophet. You are named after her." "This is no time for a story," Papa groaned. "Our guests will be here soon." "This story cannot wait," Mama insisted, and here is how she began. Every Passover, we tell the story of how God freed our ancestors from slavery. Well, one of these ancestors was a brave and clever girl named Miriam. She lived in Egypt with her mother and father and her brother Aaron. And oh, their lives were so hard. In those days, the Egyptian Pharaoh forced the Israelites to make bricks for his cities. Each night, Miriam's father Amram came home so caked with mud she could hardly recognize him. Miriam would bring her papa warm water to wash the mud away and sing him soothing songs. Miriam dearly loved to sing, for it was her way of praising God. One day, the cruel Pharaoh decided there were too many Israelite slaves. He feared that someday they would rise up against him. So he decreed that all their boy babies be drowned in the river. When Miriam's father heard this, he told his wife, Josephine, "We must divorce each other. Then we will have no more sons for Pharaoh to kill." And so Miriam's parents parted. The other Israelite men followed Amram's lead, and they divorced their wives too. "Papa," Miriam said boldly, "your action is worse than Pharaoh's. He wants to kill boys, but you are declaring no girls will be born either." "That is true," agreed Amram sadly. "You are a good person, Papa," Miriam said in a strong voice. "God will honor your decrees and punish those who would harm you. Papa, you must remarry Mama. She is going to give birth to a child who will set our people free." Although Miriam was only 6 years old, her words impressed her father so much that he did remarry her mother. All the other slaves followed his lead, and they remarried too. How joyfully Miriam danced around her parents' wedding canopy, singing songs to the bride and the groom. Many months later, a baby boy was born, and the house was filled with radiant light. Amram kissed his daughter and said, "Miriam, your prophecy is coming true." But Miriam's mother, Josephine, knew the child's life was in danger, for Pharaoh was still drowning every Israelite baby boy. "I will place my son in the Nile as Pharaoh ordered," she decided, "but he shall not drown." She wove a sturdy ark to hold him and placed it in the bulrushes where Pharaoh's daughter came to bathe. "She has a kind face," Josephine said. "Surely she will not let him drown." "I will watch over my brother," Miriam promised as she hid herself behind the tall reeds. Soon enough, the princess came to bathe, and God chose that moment to make the child cry. The princess took pity on him and said, "I know you are a Hebrew child, but I will not let you die as my father decreed. I will raise you as my son, but I need a Hebrew nursemaid to feed you." "I can find you a nursemaid," called Miriam, rushing out of her hiding place, and she brought back her own mother. "Miriam," Jochebed whispered, cradling her son once more, "you are a true blessing to us." The Pharaoh's daughter named the baby Moses and raised him in great comfort inside the palace. Meanwhile, Moses' sister Miriam and his brother Aaron grew up amid great suffering, toiling in the fields and sleeping on hard, stony ground. One day Moses came upon an Egyptian overseer beating a Hebrew slave. While trying to protect the slave, Moses killed the overseer. This so angered Pharaoh that he ordered Moses to death. And so Moses fled from Egypt for 40 years. Still, Miriam never lost her faith in God, and she kept everyone's spirits high with her joyful singing. "I know God's watching over us," Miriam sang. And she was right. God did see how the people suffered, and God told Moses, "Go back to Egypt and tell Pharaoh to let my people go." Moses did as God ordered, but Pharaoh sneered at Moses. "I am God here, and I will do no such thing." On that day, God sent down the first plague, turning the Nile River to blood. Oh, how it stank of dying fish, but Pharaoh still refused to let the Israelites go. So God sent down more plagues. Thousands of frogs filled the Egyptians' beds and feeding bowls. Lice and wild beasts afflicted them, and pestilence. Boils covered their bodies, and hail pounded down from the sky. Still, Pharaoh would not let the Israelites go. Then God sent the most terrible plague of all. Every firstborn of the Egyptians was slain. The Israelites did not die, For God ordered them to mark their doorposts and lintels with blood. The angel of death saw these marks and knew to pass over their homes. Finally, Pharaoh understood the power of God. He told Moses, "Take your people away this night." The Israelites were forced to leave so quickly their bread dough had no time to rise, so they carried it in kneading bowls on their shoulders. "We must take our drums too," Miriam told the women. "God is performing miracles for us. Let us give thanks with our joyful songs." That night, the Jewish people began their journey out of slavery. Thousands of families marched in a long line, stopping only when they reached the shore of the Red Sea. Suddenly, over the rush of waves, they heard the sound of thundering hooves. "Pharaoh has changed his mind," the people cried. "He is sending soldiers to kill us." Quickly, God commanded Moses, "Raise your staff over the water." Moses obeyed, and God made the waters rise up and part. 2 shining walls of water formed, making the seabed a dry path to walk on. The Israelites hurried across. "Pursue them!" Pharaoh ordered his soldiers, and the soldiers drove their chariots into the sea. As soon as the Israelites were safely on the other shore, God told Moses, "Raise your staff again." When he did, God brought the waters crashing down, and Pharaoh's army was drowned. As the Israelites witnessed God's awesome power, they declared, "We must sing God a song of gratitude." Moses led the men in song, and Miriam led the women. She sang, "Sing to God, for God is high. The horse and rider God has cast into the sea." The praise of God, Miriam and the women danced, filling the air with the sound of their timbrels and drums. "Our people are free," Miriam's father told her. "Your great prophecy has come true." Every year at Passover, we tell this story of our deliverance. And as we remember our ancestors, we should also remember Miriam's faith and courage, how she convinced her father to remarry her mother, how she watched over Moses in the bulrushes, and how she led all the women as they sang the song of the sea. Indeed, God remembered Miriam. In her honor, God created a well of clear spring water. Before the Israelites entered the promised land, they wandered in the desert for 40 years, and wherever Miriam went, her well would follow. When the people were parched with thirst, they only had to raise their staffs and chant, "Spring up, O well," and the water gushed forth, shooting up high as pillars. The sweet fresh water sustained their lives. Oh, never was there such a wondrous well. "And so," concluded Mama, "that is how your namesake, Miriam the prophet, played her part in the great Passover story." Little Miriam smiled with pleasure. "Where is Miriam's well now?" "In Israel, where else?" Mama said. "Now you may open your gift." The family gathered around the table as Miriam untied the ribbon and opened the box. Inside, she found a sparkling crystal goblet. "This was Miriam's cup," said Mama. "Every year we will place it on our Passover table so we may honor her." As Miriam filled the goblet with water, Papa told Mama, "That is an important story. I'm glad you told it." During the Seder, everyone sang a song about the prophet Miriam. As they sang, Miriam Pinksky glazed at Miriam's cup, hoping the prophet would come and sip some water. It is very likely that she did, for the brave and joyful spirit of the prophet Miriam is surely at every Seder. That end. Wasn't that an amazing story? That was pretty good. Could you imagine the waters just going up like walls and then crashing down? That's an awesome story. I can't wait to learn more about Easter and what it's about and everything that happened at the Passover festivals and what came after that. We're going to have some fun this week. I look forward to it, but for now, it's time to say goodnight. But I'll see you guys tomorrow. Don't forget craft time tomorrow, 2 o'clock, okay? Tell your parents 2 o'clock we'll have an Easter craft, and then 8:30 we'll have a story. Good night, you guys. Good night, Zanai. Good night, Emma. Good night, Kennedy. Good night, Morgan. Good night, Navia. Good night, Justina. Good night, Harley and Harper. Good night, Brandon. Good night, Justin. Good night, Amari and Aiden. Good night, Israel. Good night, Hunter. Good night, Nico. Good night, Malia. Oh, good night, Danny. Good night, Analia. Good night, Xavier and Demetrius. Good night, Makai. Good night, Erilyn. Good night, Stevie. Oh, good night, Prince. Oh, good night, Gianni. Good night, Maya. Good night, Brooklyn. Have sweet dreams, you guys. I'll see you tomorrow, okay? Bye.